I'm a spiritual empath and shaman, and I'm here to talk to you today about how to emotionally de escalate a discussion or conversation. That's one of the things that we're having to deal with a lot right now because tempers are high, emotions are high, people are frustrated, and they're living in a world that they cannot control. And naturally, our human instinct when we are in a situation that we can't control is to seek control over something. And if we can't control ourselves, we will seek to control others. So, I mean, we can look anywhere on the news, you can see that 100 times a day. So, what do you do when you're in a situation where there's a disagreement or there is an inability to come together with a common understanding? The purpose of any discussion is to be heard and to find a common ground. The purpose isn't to get someone to believe like you do, right? There are many steps. It's good to know people that believe the way that you do, but it's better if you can find people with whom you don't agree, but you can find common ground. So the first element of that is understanding on a deeper level rejection, your feelings of rejection, your emotion of rejection. What is rejection on a spiritual level? So I'm going to read you a little bit from Conquer Your Karmic Relationships, Heal Spiritual Trauma to Open Your Heart and Restore Your Soul. I'm going to read you a little bit about rejection. Here's my bookmark. In case I cry, I'm ready. Okay. Rejection is the beginning of self-mastery. We all have a baseline of rejection, how we are conditioned to receive it and use it. Whether we are rejecting ourselves or others, things or ideas, food, flavors, or consistencies, it is a pathway to meeting our own needs in this life. And it begins with the body and the way it processes food. Isn't that interesting? That your first relationship to rejection begins with the way you process food. And for our intents and purposes this morning or this afternoon for our conversation, it is your emotional body, how you emotionally process information, whatever currency you're dealing with. What is your relationship to that currency? So if anybody's out there, I want to hear from you. I see there are a few people watching. So just quickly jot down in the comment section, what are some topics that you find you have the most difficulty speaking with others about? Topic, again, is one thing, but it's always about your relationship to that topic. Now, there are a lot of topics that naturally people, they have shame, they carry shame they carry shame about. And the first thing that you need to do is to address, if you're in a conversation with someone, you have to learn to know when to walk away from the conversation, know when to take a deep breath and sit for a moment. Oh, money problems. So funny. Stephen wrote money problems, and I read many problems, just many, just too many problems. I have just so many. And you know what, we all do. So I'm not laughing at you. I'm laughing with you. Okay. So when you're discussing money, money is a currency, and we all have our relationship to money. So the first thing that you need to understand in addressing that, don't feel ashamed. There's no need to feel shame. Stephen says that nobody else is commenting and that he feels shame. Money is the number one driver of divorce. I don't know where I get that from, but it's an internet fact. So who cares how true it is? But it's pretty true. Almost every counseling sessions I've ever done with a married couple who are having difficulties, It often has to do with one or both people's relationship with money. One person hoards and they want to keep all their money and keep that savings and really focus on holding their money. And then the other person is a little more spendthrift. They are more comfortable when they are putting money out they feel like they put it out there and they're going to get it back. Okay. And people relate to money or currency emotionally. So when you're in a discussion, in this case about money, you have to first consider your relationship to money. I'm going to go through there's some basic self-understanding that I'm going to walk through first, and then at the end of this we're going to go through literally step by step how to de-escalate a situation. Okay? We're going to do that. But right now, you must deal with your own relationship to money. Does money make you feel safe? Does it give you a false sense of fragility or nervousness or anxiety about getting money? Have you ever experienced the feeling of having enough money? Again, having enough money isn't about how much money you have. It's about your relationship to that money, because we know that there are a ton of people out there for whom nothing will ever be enough. So your relationship to the topic at hand has to be addressed first. The second element is to, whatever your feelings are, to not judge yourself for them, but to acknowledge them. We all have reasons why we feel the way we do about food, about money, about emotions, about feeling rejected, about being acknowledged. And the more we are willing to dig into those things and acknowledge where they come from, it empowers us to be able to make a decision to begin to move out of that frame of thinking, that frame of mind. So when you're in a discussion about money, be willing to take a deep breath and state, well, this is my relationship with money. When I spend money or when I have money, this is how it makes me feel. And when you spend money, this is how it makes me feel. Right? Nobody can judge you for how you feel about it. But once everybody knows what the emotional quality of the dynamic that's happening, you can come to a different kind of resolution, or you can actually create and take effective steps so that everybody feels comfortable about what's happening. The next level is listen to the person you're having a discussion with. Be willing to say, well, how do you feel about money? What is your relationship with money? Tell me about that. I want to know more about you. Because oftentimes we make the conversation about the actual money, and it's never about money. It's about rejection. It's about either accepting or denying yourself, or accepting or denying someone else. At the end of the day, you're always going to come back to that if you're honest with yourself. The next level is then addressing the currency and how you can be effective to come up with something that works for the relationship. Right? But you can't do that until you've addressed your own thing. So listen to yourself, listen to your partner. If things are getting really heated, take a deep breath and listen. It's okay that you don't like what you hear. Perfectly fine. That's good. It's actually good. It's good when you hear something that makes you feel uncomfortable, because that lets you know that you've got shame somewhere about something, about what's being said. There is a vehement opposition internally about what's being said, and there's a reason for that. So dig into whatever that reason is. Okay, hold on one moment. Okay, sustainability with work. Melanie says, in my teaching job, I often put a lot of energy, and someone close to me says that it is unsustainable for that reason. I don't see it that way. Okay. So in that case, Sometimes in conversations, and this is the best de-escalation of all, is you have to agree to disagree. Most importantly, however, and I think with sometimes people say one thing like that was, if this person is saying, what you're doing is not sustainable, it's less that they're saying that and more about why they're saying that. Why are they saying that to you? Is that how they feel about their own experience? Or are they witnessing something about how you manage yourself, your life, your work that makes them uncomfortable? There is nothing wrong with hearing what they have to say, even if their assessment or evaluation of you is not something you agree with. Understand that their assessment and their evaluation is coming from their point of view. And the more you understand that, the more you're going to understand who they are. And if they're a good friend, a lover, or partner, you want to offer them that value. You don't have to agree with it, and you certainly don't have to do it. But you can love them enough to hear what they have to say and recognize that it's not a rejection of you. It's coming from a perspective that they hold, that they feel oftentimes about themselves. And when you listen freely, here's the trick. When you listen freely, and when you begin to whisper or speak at a low, slow tone, it makes people have to kind of lean in. They have to lean in to hear what you're saying. They have to actually hear what you're saying and metabolize it, because you are not defending yourself, defending your position, but you are offering them the opportunity to say what they mean and to ask them further questions about themselves. And anytime you can do that in any situation, it takes you out of the dynamic of winning and losing. Here's the thing. Nobody ever wins a debate, at least not in partnerships, right? Maybe for the boardroom, but even that is kind of old hat. It's not how that works. It's not what people do. When people argue and they get really loud and they shut the conversation down, nobody wins. If nobody's heard but you and your opinion, then nobody wins, especially you. So remember that anytime there's a discussion to be had, and especially about topics that make us feel uncomfortable about ourselves, or uncomfortable or fearful about you, right? We've got cultural conversations and questions. We have sexual identity, sexual orientation. We have a lot of ways in which people recognize themselves, and it's fear creating, fear inspiring for them to be able to discuss those things. So how can you, in a heated discussion, stop, take a deep breath, and listen first, and then comment? That's stop, listen first, then comment. Take a minute, take a pause. Let there be a blank spot, a quiet spot, a spot in that conversation where there is no sound whatsoever. It's really uncomfortable for a lot of people to sit in the gap of silence. But it's one of the most effective techniques that you have to be able to create a space where everybody can gather their thoughts and take a deeper stock of what their goal is in having this conversation in the first place. Many people would prefer to not have the conversation at all, rather than doing the hard work of listening and being heard. So if you have somebody and you are engaged in a conversation and you are willing to create that space where there's a gap of silence so that you can gather your thoughts, and you are welcome to say, hey, hold on one moment, just give me a moment to gather my thoughts. Like, please don't speak. Please give me a moment, and I'd like to respond to you. And then I'd like to hear you, right? There's nothing wrong with offering an opportunity to structure the conversation in a way that allows freedom for both people. Okay, so hold one moment. You're welcome, Stephen. And we have Melanie. She says, it's funny. My dad used to tell me something similar to that about teaching, that it didn't pay well. It probably had to do with me being able to sustain myself since I want to be self-sustainable. Okay, absolutely. Being, being able to pay the bills is, well, it is just a fact that we have to acknowledge. However, in today's hustle culture, we have many other ways that we can supplement our income in addition to teaching, in addition to educating. There's a lot of ways to create an opportunity to make an income. And the most important thing is doing what you love creates a whole other level of sustainability. The energy that you put into work ultimately will turn into money if you. It's funny, we had a class last night. We were talking about healing your money chakra. And your third chakra is, it's not necessarily your money chakra, but it is the way in which you assert yourself in the physical world. And if you can heal your relationship to money, any work that you do will begin to provide the money that you need. And if you can't do it just with one teaching job, opportunities will present themselves to get what you need. Whatever level of integrity you set out there, like, I want to do these things, I love doing these things, and you open up to spirit to show you how to manifest those things, then you're going to get the money that you need. Or you're going to have a sustainable living situation that matches your income. What you don't want to do is start out believing that there's not enough, right? And a lot of our parents, they grew up in the Depression era, and they don't believe that there is enough. So that's just, every generation has a different relationship to money. And we learned a certain thing, and our children will learn a different thing, and their children will learn a different thing. Having a relationship to money in the last 20 years, anybody who's 20 years or younger, had to work through the fact that money just doesn't come from an ATM. Because you can just go and put in these numbers, put in your card, and you get out cash. It's great. Right? And so there has to be an educational relationship towards the work that you do and how money is created, and then our technology system and how we funnel that money. So anyway, so back to the concept at hand. In order to de-escalate an emotional discussion, you have to stop, breathe, create a gap of silence where you can take stock of what dynamic are you really functioning from? And then ask that of your partner. What is it they really want you to know about the discussion you're having? What do they want you to know? I'm ready to hear it. I'm ready to listen. Tell me. How do you feel about that? Begin the conversation so that it doesn't nobody needs to defend themselves, and nobody gets offended. Remember, if you feel rejected, like you need to defend, there's another word that I was, it just went away. Any response like you need to defend yourself is because you are feeling rejected on some level. Either you're rejecting yourself, or it's bringing up a trigger of past pain. And so to recognize that in the conversation and be willing to address that first with yourself and with then your conversation partner, that's the way there's going to create a space where everyone can have some understanding in the situation. So thank you so much for tuning in today. It's been just a pleasure. Please feel free at any time to reach out to me at traceedunblazier.com or here on Facebook at Tracee Dunblazier Spiritual Empath. I want to hear from you. If you have a topic that you'd like for me to address, I want to hear it. And coming up in March, I'm very excited because I'll be doing a weekly live call as a membership program from my website. You can become a member of the group, and I do a live call similar to this, where we can do a Q&A, and I'm going to go more in depth on different topics. So be looking out for that at traceedunblazier.com. And again, this has been Tracee Dunblazier, Spiritual Empath, and this has been Chatcast.